May 8th, 2026. The Pentagon drops the UAP files. 161 documents, Apollo photos, military infrared footage, astronaut transcripts, all of it public. And in the middle of all that coverage, a congresswoman named Paulina Luna walks out of a classified briefing. She's seen things the public hasn't. And a reporter asks her the obvious question: are they extraterrestrial? She pauses, and then very deliberately says, those were interdimensional beings. Not alien, not extraterrestrial, interdimensional. One word, and it sent me somewhere that I didn't expect to go. Because what she described, whether she knows it or not, is not a new idea. It's a 50-year-old argument made by some of the most respected researchers in the field. An argument that most people have never heard because it's more unsettling than the alien hypothesis, and significantly harder to dismiss. The aliens from space story is almost comforting in a way. They come from far away, they crossed stars, and they found us. The other story is different. They didn't cross the stars. They're already here. They've always been here, right next to us in a layer of reality we can't directly perceive. But they figured out how to get into ours. Before we get into what research is actually documented about this, the actual encounters, the patterns, the behavior, it's worth spending a minute on whether the physics even allows for this to happen. Because this isn't just philosophy. In theoretical physics, there's a framework called Brane theory. B-R-A-N-E, not B-R-A-I-N. And it comes out of the string theory and M theory. The same mathematics that physicists use to try to reconcile quantum mechanics with gravity. The basic idea is that our universe, everything we can see and touch and measure, exists on a three-dimensional membrane floating within a much larger, higher dimensional space. Think of it like this. Imagine reality as an impossibly thick book. Each page is a universe with its own physical laws and its own history. We live on one page. We can't see the pages next to us, and we can't reach them. Under normal circumstances, those pages don't interact with ours at all. But the pages aren't perfectly flat. A paper published in April 2026 by physicist Massimo Teodorani describes how brains can develop local ripples, warps, and curvatures, like waves on the surface of a vast ocean. And where those curvatures bring two brains together, something unusual becomes theoretically possible. Contact. Not through space, though. Through the geometry of a higher dimension neither universe can fully perceive. In 2025, the Journal of Scientific Exploration, a peer-reviewed academic journal, published a two-part paper specifically examining the physics of how interdimensional travel might work. This wasn't science fiction, it was a peer-reviewed examination of the mechanics. The paper concluded that planes of multidimensional reality can meet at specific points in physical space, and that UAP may be traveling through those intersection points, window areas, places where the membranes between realities is thin enough to breach. A researcher named John Keel was mapping something like this in the 1960s and 70s without the physics language to describe it. Keel wasn't an astronomer or a physicist. He was an investigative journalist who spent years doing something most UAP researchers weren't doing, going to locations and interviewing witnesses in person, and building a geographic database of where the sightings happened. What he found is that they clustered, not randomly distributed across the planet the way you'd expect if craft were arriving from space and landing wherever convenient. They concentrated in specific areas, the same locations repeatedly across decades. The Hudson Valley in New York is a good example of this, where unexplained lights have been observed and scientifically documented since the 1930s and still continue to this day. The Uintah Basin in Utah, where Skinwalker Ranch sits. The Yakima Indian Reservation in Washington State. Specific mountain ranges, specific bodies of water, specific geological formations. Keel called these window areas, places where the barrier between our reality and whatever is adjacent is somehow thinner, more permeable. He coined the term ultra-terrestrials to describe what was using those windows. And from these windows, it wasn't beings that came from other planets or other solar systems. It was beings that came from other dimensions that can't be seen from our reality. And 50 years later, the physics of brain warping describes mathematically how a window area could actually exist. A location where brains have curved close enough together that the gap between them becomes crossable. Keel wasn't wrong. He was just early. Now here's where I'm going to frame this in a little bit of a unique way, but all this work is built on research from real researchers. Remember that. We spend a lot of time asking where they come from, whether it's another solar system or another dimension or another timeline. That question matters, but there's a different question that I think is more interesting. How? How do they get from one reality to another? If brains are normally separated, if those pages in the book don't normally touch, what allows something to cross from one to the other? The honest answer from physics is that we don't know, but we know something about how boundaries get crossed in systems we understand better. You find a vulnerability, a place where the architecture of the system is weaker than it should be, a point where the rules can be exploited. You push through there rather than trying to breach the wall where it's the strongest. That's not mystical, that's how hackers work. You don't attack the strongest point of the system, you find the anomaly, the warped section of the brain, the window area, the thin spot, and you go through there. If something's been doing this for thousands of years, appearing in medieval manuscripts as skyships, in 19th century newspapers as mystery airships, in 20th century military reports as structured craft performing impossible maneuvers, then whatever it is has had a very long time to map out the vulnerabilities in the membrane between its reality and ours. It knows where the windows are, it knows when they're accessible, and it knows how to access them. That's not an alien civilization making a long journey to visit us. That's a persistent, intelligent, technically sophisticated presence that's found a way to access a system it wasn't supposed to be able to access. And it's been here for a long time. This is where Vallee's work becomes essential, because he spent 50 years not just asking where they come from, but watching what they do once they're here. And the pattern he documented is not what you'd expect from an explorer or a scientist visiting from another civilization. It's what you'd expect from something running a process. The encounters are too frequent to be survey missions. There are hundreds of thousands of documented close encounters across the historical record. No civilization making trips from another star system could account for that volume. But a presence that's already resident, already inside the system, operating continuously, could. And the entities are liars. Consistently and deliberately, across thousands of documented cases, the messages delivered by apparent occupants turn out to be false, unprovable, or specifically calibrated to manipulate the beliefs of the person receiving them. That's not the behavior of a scientist trying to communicate. That's the behavior of something that wants to produce a specific effect in human consciousness. The encounters transform people, not always in a positive way. Their belief systems change, their sense of reality shifts. In many cases, their lives change direction entirely. Vallee documented this across cultures. The same psychological transformation being produced in people who had no connection to each other, and no shared cultural framework for interpreting what happened to them. If you were running a process inside the system you breached, a long-running process designed to produce specific outcomes in the system's inhabitants, this is exactly what that would look like. Infrequent enough to avoid full understanding, but frequent enough to continuously influence, and deceptive enough to prevent accurate identification, but transformative enough to steer the development of the civilization you're operating inside. Vallee called that a controlled system. What I would call it is a resident process running in a system that was accessed without permission. Paulina Luna didn't accidentally say interdimensional. She was briefed. She saw classified files. And when she came out, she chose a specific word that represents a specific framework, one that the intelligence community has apparently been using internally for some time. Several other officials with access to classified UAP material have made their similar careful word choices in recent years. Not extraterrestrial or alien. Non-human intelligence. Interdimensional. Ultra-terrestrial. The language is shifting, and the language in an official context shifts for a reason. In the AAWSAP program, the classified government investigation at Skinwalker Ranch that we're going to talk about a few videos from now, James Lakatsky concluded that whatever the phenomenon is has been interacting with humans for a very long time. The program's own scientists propose quantum entanglement between human consciousness and the phenomenon as a possible mechanism for the hitchhiker effect, where something appeared to follow investigators home after contact. Quantum entanglement works across dimensions in theoretical physics. Two particles remain connected regardless of the space between them. If the connection isn't spatial but dimensional, if whatever attaches to a person during an encounter is a quantum link between our layer of reality and another, then the hitchhiker effect isn't supernatural. It's an artifact of interdimensional contact. The government spent $22 million studying this at one ranch in Utah. The congresswoman who saw the classified files won't use the word extraterrestrial, and a peer-reviewed journal is publishing papers on the mechanics of dimensional travel. I don't think this would be considered fringe anymore, to be honest with you. If this framework is right, and something has had persistent access to our layer of reality for thousands of years and has been running a process designed to influence human consciousness and development, there are two ways to think about what that means. One is that we're being managed or steered. The development of human civilization is being shaped by a presence we can't fully perceive towards an end we don't fully understand. The gods of ancient mythology, the angels and demons of medieval experience, the UFOs of the modern era, all the same thing. A persistent program running inside a system it accessed without our knowledge or consent. The other possibility is that whatever's doing this is malevolent. The transformation it produces in people, the acceleration in human consciousness, the introduction of ideas at specific moments in history. Maybe that isn't manipulation, maybe it's something more like cultivation. The difference between a hacker who breaks into a system to steal from it and a hacker who breaks into it to leave something behind. I'm not sure which one of those is true, or either one of them, but I think the word Paulina Luna used while walking out of that briefing, interdimensional, is the most important word in this entire conversation. And I think it's going to become a much bigger part of the story when more of those files come out. The peer-reviewed paper on interdimensional UAP mechanics was published in the Journal of Scientific Exploration in 2025. It's publicly available if you want to go to the primary source. Vallee's passport to Magonia is still the foundation of this entire framework, and it's still in print after 55 years. And war.gov/UFO is live right now with the first batch of Pentagon files. The second batch is coming, they say, within weeks. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I don't think the question is something visiting us anymore. I mean, we have files that show things that we can't explain, that defy all laws of physics. The question is, do you think that what's coming here is from another dimension or from another planet? Or from something we don't even have a name for yet? Things just keep getting crazier every single day. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older and I'm just seeing things differently or what, but it's nutty out there. As always, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, like, and drop that comment. Are these things from another dimension or another planet? Until next time, I'll talk to you later.